Talk about it. I mean, you've been on this journey. Now here we are in the championship. I mean, I know it's just another fight in some ways, but it's got to feel a little different. What's the emotions like for you?
Yeah, man. No, it's for sure different a little bit. But we try to stay level-headed. We try to stay kind of fair-minded about what's gonna happen, and it's a fight. World championship or not. The big difference is there's two extra rounds. We're just getting ready, man. Enjoying life. This is a crazy opportunity. I've been waiting for this for my whole life. Yeah, man. We're just taking it day by day, enjoying it. Just getting through camp first.
I love it. Last season was almost kind of like a Cinderella run. Like I felt like you were almost like it doesn't matter what happens. Like we're here.
Yeah.
But this year, did it feel more like okay, now we're on the mission, and I'm not like just it's not like a free roll, so to speak.
Yeah, I think last year, it's easy to tell myself, I just made it the first time. It is what it is. But I think, I learned a lot from that. I think that's just the easy way out for me. I think just Omari was better that day, that night, and he was a better fighter. And there's a lot of things that worked into it. My teammate, a lot of things, for my first loss, I think that was a good first loss. You know what I mean? It was pretty good lesson to learn. But I think, yeah, it kind of prepped me and amped me up for this season, where I don't want that to happen again with a teammate or anyone.
Yeah. Jose, is it nice to not be fighting a teammate in this situation? I know you guys tried to make it as unawkward as possible, but I know it had to be a little bit weird.
For sure, yeah, it's a little weird. It's nice, but at the same time, if I had to do it again, different approach for sure. Different approach.
How about this one with Impa? It seems like it's kind of hard to hate on the guy, right? I mean, I know you guys are about to get in a fight, but you guys are both two of the nicest dudes out there.
Yeah, man, he's a pretty genuine guy. I tell people he's probably a little nicer than me, but yeah, man, it's hard to stir some things up with him. He's just a good guy. I can't see him really trying to get underneath my skin, and I don't really waste my time doing that stuff. I'm me. I'm a cheerful guy. I try to be the good guy. I guess he's a good guy. It's gonna be a good guy fight. It is what it is, man. Let's see what that night has in store for us.
I love it. Is there any crosstown rivalry in effect here? I mean,
yeah,
you got some ties to the gym.
Poor Impa, he probably doesn't even know what's going on with the rivalry. I think he's recently new to that gym. But yeah, if you want to take it back to American Top Team versus Black Zillions. Yeah, this has those deep roots, you know what I mean? I know this means a lot to Dan, a lot to my dad, my coach Conan, to Richie, Puma, the guy that helps us out with all the background stuff, Primo. All the deep ATT guys know that this is a deep one right here. Everyone's kind of, every once in a while, they'll walk by me and, grab my shoulder and not say anything, and I know exactly what they're trying to tell me. How you feeling? Feeling good? Ready to crush this guy from the other side over there, so this one runs deep, man, but I love it. I tell everybody all the time, I'd rather be the guy to do this type of job, put the pressure on me, pass me the ball to take the last shot. That's the type of person I am, so I love this stuff.
Awesome. Last thing for me, I mean, obviously $1 million is life-changing in many ways, but what would it mean for you to add a belt to those cases up there? You know what I mean? It's just...
Man, it means such a big thing to add a belt, and I tell Dan all the time, I'm like, why don't I have a photo over here? And I know I'm just busting his balls about it, and he was busting my balls about it too. He's known me since I was a kid, so I think he makes it a little harder for me, go earn it, But I know when I win this belt, I know I'm definitely getting a belt in there, and I'm definitely getting a photo up here. I'm dying to have just one little photo, you know what I mean? The mullet should be shown up here in the gym a little bit. But yeah, man, I'm ATT for life, man. This is bigger than me. So I would love to be a part of the little bit of what we've done in the past, 2002, I think we've been around, It's a long time, So if I could just put a little bit of Josh Silveira in the history, man, that's amazing.
Josh, we spoke a few weeks ago about some of the things that you learned from last year and the heartbreak and how you worked through that. What are some of the biggest things that you feel like you learned about yourself through that process that you kind of took into this season?
I think what I learned about myself was understanding that, the PFL sometimes when they put you in $1 million situation, sometimes you might think of it like like, is this it? Is this the end? Like, what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? I didn't win the million. Do I move on to something else? Obviously, in this situation, that's not me, and that's what it taught me. Like, doesn't matter for the million or world championship or whatever. This is what I love, man. I love doing this. So, you know, I knocked the dust off my shoulders and I got back to what I love doing. You know what I mean? It's a blessed life I have. So, the loss is just a little speed bump in the road, but this is my life, man. My biggest nightmare, I say it all the time, is not doing this. This is my biggest nightmare, is not doing MMA. Not waking up and punching a guy in the face and getting punched and kicked and being exhausted. You know what I mean? This is just my life. And I think that was the biggest takeaway from it.
You've risen through the ranks in the PFL almost at a perfect time, right? In terms of the growth of the PFL, the big signings and all that. What are your thoughts in terms of your long-term future with the PFL? Could you see yourself making this a home for the long term? What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is my second season. The PFL is doing their thing. You know, I really appreciate what they've done for me. I've mentioned it in the past with teammates and things like that. Like, you know, I could see myself like potentially being like a Hall of Famer or something in that direction. I know it's kind of still in the beginning, but you know, I would love to be a big name in the PFL. You know, if that moment presents itself, you know, as of right now, and maybe a second belt, third belt, something like that. That'd be super cool. I just don't know how their structure is going to go. Are they going to make this structure forever? Are they going to get enough guys where they're going to be having shows every other weekend? You know what I mean? I don't know what direction they're going to head in, but I think that's the focus for anybody, right? You see a bunch of fighters retire, and they don't have like that special, you know, post-fight interview when they're talking to everybody. It's a tough sport, man. Not everybody has that moment. So whatever organization that wants to treat me well and take me up to the top and you know, potentially have a Hall of Fame type style, you know, I'm all down for it. You know, that's the way I would like to leave the sport. Can't do this forever.
And one last question for me: having your father Conan as a coach, what is that dynamic like? Because I feel like, especially in modern MMA, you don't really see a father-son coaching dynamic like that. What is that like for you?
It's interesting, man. It has its ups and downs, but my dad's he was a coach before me, you know, and before I was born. So it's just like, I don't know, man. We have our ups and downs, but it's a lot of trust, you know. And in the moment, sometimes I don't feel like I want to trust him or I want to do my own thing, but I trust him. I've seen too many fighters, great fighters, just burn, man, and crash because of bad decision making, bad matchups, bad just that you want to satisfy everyone. You know, a fighter, we just say yes all the time. We're yes guys, the good ones, the ones that want to satisfy and everybody and become a champion and do everything for the coach and for the gym. You know, we say yes all the time. A good coach is going to tell you when to say no, when to pull you away and when to calm you down, you know, and he does that very well for me, you know, very well.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Earlier this year, you said that your mom tried to talk you out of a career in MMA. Do you think getting that belt and getting your picture on the wall will win her over, or do you think she'll always not be happy?
I think she's always going to hold that thing against me that, you know, fighting, you know, no mom wants to see their kid fight. It's tough for her, but deep down inside, if I went up to her and I was like, "Hey, Mom, I'm done fighting," I think she would have to get a little aggressive with me and say, "No, you're not. Now you're not. You put me through this whole mess already. You know, finish up. You know." My mom never let me quit, whether it was Boy Scouts. I did Boy Scouts for 1 year, and I was like, "I'm never doing this again." Nothing against the Boy Scout community, but it's just not for me. You know what I mean? I played baseball. She never let me quit. You know, every time I dipped my toes into something, she never let me quit. You know, so she's not gonna let me quit now, even though she doesn't necessarily like it. You know, she probably wished I was a veterinarian or something like that, which that'd just be too hard of schoolwork, I think. You know, so yeah, man, I think she's proud of me, even though it's not her cup of tea. But I think that's what being a mom's all about, especially if you have a young boy, young man. You know, what can you expect a a man to do sometimes that a mom's not gonna approve every time. But that's moms, man. Moms love.
Thank you.
Yep.
Josh, have you let your mind wonder and imagine what it would be to win the $1 million?
Yeah, man, it wanders off pretty far, thinking of like traveling and things like that. But then I really do think about like the nitty gritty stuff, my family being comfortable, like my mom just like, not that money is always gonna be an issue, but just telling my mom like, hey, you could relax like for a little bit, where she could just kind of sleep in for 3 months, not have to wake up at all like 5 o'clock in the morning, and just maybe give up a job, things like that. The really meat and potatoes of life, right? Like having time for yourself, freedom, financial freedom, and things like that, So that's what I really think about. Where my mom could just pick up and go to Brazil and go see her family. She could go next week if she wants. You know what I mean? Where we usually plan things like that like a year out, where I would love for my mom just pick up and go, or my dad too, or anybody. Hey, they call me and they need some sort of help for, fixing a car part or paying rent, anything like that, where my family doesn't need to necessarily stress as bad. Life's stressful no matter what, but just take a little bit of the edge off.
And there's been plenty of rumors that the PFL may acquire Bellator, and people are assuming that there would be like a merger of talent. Obviously, Bellator has a pretty stacked 205 division.
For sure.
So I just want to get your overall thoughts on potentially getting those guys over to the PFL.
Yeah, I'm all for new adventures. You know what I mean? If this is something that's gonna happen, awesome. You know what I mean? If UFC acquired Pride a long time ago, and that kind of pushed them in a direction where WEC, Pride, and UFC. Next thing you know, they had one big organization, and they're doing pretty good. So I don't see anything wrong with PFL doing that. If they want to grow, they need fighters. If they could just go buy a whole roster, I'm sure it gets a lot more political than that. But I'm all for it, man. More money, more eyes, more popularity, more everything. We're all heading in the right direction, I did my part. I signed with them a couple years ago, so I'm happy to just be riding the wave, being part of this organization. And if that's what they do, let's move forward.
I was wondering, you've already said, you don't need a rivalry, you don't need trash talking, but how much fun would it be to be in an epic rivalry? You think of Conor and Khabib and
Yeah.
Kobe and Masvidal. Like, would you want to be involved in something like that? Maybe not so.
I mean,
but-
yeah, or I would, I would. I just feel like I would just be very cheerful about it, I don't think I would get too serious. But I would love to be part of that rivalry, right? Like if somebody wants to start talking smack about American Top Team, especially, Killcliff or something like that. Oh, I have facts all day long. We could go back and forth, things like that. But trash talking like McGregor red panty night, things like that. I don't know about that stuff. Your wife's gonna bring out the red panties and things like that. That's a little rough. And I don't know if my mom probably wouldn't like me saying that too on camera. I got a Brazilian mom. It's a lot more different than what Latino moms are. It's just still, they don't believe in that 18, you're an adult thing.
You're so nice. Have you ever had a situation with an opponent where there's been some tension?
I think the worst thing that's happened to me was Hamlet at the weigh-in. He kind of just pushed his head in front of my face, and I was just like, I was a little upset about it because I was like, man, this is the time where we get some nice photos. This is like people are watching the weigh-ins. Now your face is all in my face. And then when they sent me the photos, I was like, look, yeah, I knew exactly what the photos are gonna look like.
Yeah.
Like you trying to kiss me or something like that, putting your face in my face, and I think that was the worst that's ever happened. I don't really talk much. I don't know. I don't look like, you can't really get mad at me either, right? Like, who wants to talk smack to me too?
Are you gonna wear the cowboy hat to one up Impa in the face off?
I don't know, man. Impa, I'll give it to him, man. That cowboy hat does look good on him. He does pull it off pretty well. I don't know, even with the mullet, I don't know if I could one up him.
All right, Josh. It's interesting, like hearing you talk, because like your whole demeanor is like counter to what a lot of people like would think of mixed martial artists.
For sure.
Has it always been like that, especially considering who your dad is and being around
Yeah.
the sport so much? Has it always been like you fight?
Yeah, it's always been like he's the gentle bear type guy of the group of friends. I think it was just the way I was raised, man. MMA was presented to me at such a young age. Jiu-jitsu, vale tudo. You could break it down as much as you want. I just had so many killers around me growing up that it's almost like that big dog that's like looking at the Chihuahua bark. And he does not threaten. He just kind of like deal with, just relax, because he knows that at the end of the day, he's gonna figure it out. He could read a room and see what's up. That's the same thing with me. At a young age, I walked into the room, and not that I had confidence in myself. I did have confidence in myself. I just knew that if a situation happened, I knew I could just figure it out. If it's a physical situation, even an altercation. MMA and jiu-jitsu's helped me develop like a lot of character development. So I don't need to have like this puffed up chest and things like that. I know myself very well, and my dad has taught that. I think that's more of a jiu-jitsu thing, especially old school jiu-jitsu, right? We don't need to show anything. We'll take you to the ground, choke you out real quick, walk away. That was kind of how my mentality was raised, and never to use my martial arts if it was not necessary, things like that. So I think growing up, just seeing a lot of badass dudes, and I've ran into dudes with bad attitudes, and they don't make it too far. Bad attitude won't get you anywhere in life. So I think just growing up, just being good attitude, cheerful, and just knowing I could kick ass too. I think it's just a great combination to have. That's just the way I was raised. Yeah.
You've been obviously you did it with other promotions before. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between those promotions, your experiences there, and compared to PFL?
Yeah, so one specific promotion that I loved and they helped me build my career was LFA. I'm a two-time champ there. Eddie Suarez over there, the president, he does a very good job, and he used to be Anderson Silva's manager, right? So he's been around MMA for a long time. So he does a very good job giving the best type of simulation of what these guys, because if you win a belt in LFA, you have a good chance that you're going to get signed to PFL, Bellator, UFC, big organization, maybe ONE FC. So he does a good way of structuring it, but money is what makes a show really, really fantastic or okay, and LFA, they don't have as much money as the PFL, obviously, but they do a great simulation, you know what I mean? They do good matchups. They're on UFC Fight Pass, and I think 80% of their roster goes to big organizations, so it was a blessing to fight for that organization, but the PFL is a whole different ball game, man. You know what I mean? The amount of media things they make us do, and I don't complain about it. I love talking to you guys and doing these things. It's all new to me. But they have so much more deeper into their fighters. They're trying to blow us up not just as fighters, but as individuals to be an image for them. You know what I mean? Where the LFA, they know that you're leaving. They know that you're going to be on your way out. You know what I mean? That's their mission. They're kind of like a JUCO college.
Yeah. So we talked about the possibility of the merger and all of that.
Yeah.
And the 205 scene in Bellator. Do you have a dream fight at 205? Because obviously, if the person's already in PFL, it's not really that much of a dream because the
For sure.
path is probably going to cross.
For sure.
Is there a dream 205 fight for you?
Man, not off the top of my head. I'm a 205er, but I have cut until middleweight too. And I know my teammate Johnny Eblen, he's a fantastic middleweight. I love him to death, But I mean that would be, you know, if I had to fight a teammate again, and it would be like an amazing fight, like a super fight of clash of organizations. You know, man, that'd be awesome, man. And I know he would be having that same mentality too. You know, we both come from Division I college. We both help each other out a lot. You know, not saying that I want to fight my teammate, but I think that would bring a lot of eyes in. You know what I mean? And that's a different organization.
Yeah.
You know.
That would be awesome. My last question. Dan, you know, he had the stint where he was working with AEW, with, you know, All Elite Wrestling, and has that ever crossed your path mentally? Like, if I dip my toe into
the pro wrestling?
like,
No,
you got a mullet.
I got a mullet.
And it's a look, and you got a Seth Rollins vibe. Almost,
Seth Rollins vibe,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, yeah, I think I would have to clean up some you know, different characters, you know, just to stay in acting mode. You know, I don't know if I'm so much of an actor. This is kind of natural how I am. But who knows? I would dip my toes in there.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you know, if it's, I'm not one of those guys like, oh, WW pro wrestling, blah. Like I used to watch that all the time, man. WCW, WWF. Yeah, I love that stuff. You know.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
For sure.
Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What are the cells?